Good morning, Denise Dryden here, out on Bainbridge Island. The sun's really bright. You can't see the water. It's so sad on this video because it's just beautiful. Maybe if I get out of the way at the end, you can see it. Today I want to talk about structure, rules, and boundaries. And this has come up over the last 2 weeks constantly in my coaching with parents who have kids in therapeutic programs, sort of understanding what the difference is between the two of them. Also, to me, it ties in with fear and doubt. So this is sort of a segue off of fear and doubt, because fear and doubt come in when we don't know what to do, we don't know what's expected of us, we start perseverating, we start imagining things that could happen, and structure, rules, and boundaries help. And they help with anxiety. So let's see what we can cover here this morning. We know that fears and doubts come from a lack of clarity, overwhelm, muddled edges, not knowing where the definition is or the rules, and anxiety. So structure defined is a way to overlay what works on a day-to-day, week-to-week schedule. It's a way to take something complex, something difficult to organize, and arrange it in a relationship that by its parts and elements. In other words, it's taking something complex and arranging it so that it makes sense to you, to the people in your life. This arrangement needs to be solid, predictable, and consistent. Absolutely rock solid, predictable, and consistent. And it's designed to reduce anxiety. So when I look at the metaphysical components, I look at the concept of grids, that, we have these routines, we have these grids that we work. And when we form a structure around something really complex that gets overwhelmed easily, and we're running things through these grids, there's a relief. Like, I know what to expect. I know what to push against, and I know there aren't a lot of surprises. So it makes sense that it brings anxiety down. So structure provides dependability, consistency, routine, something to hold on to. It's a key to bringing down anxiety, addressing behavior regulation. When you have somebody who can dysregulate emotionally, behaviorally, it gives them something to understand that this is what we do in this order. It also is phenomenal. Structure is phenomenal with addiction. And it's probably one of the things that, as you know, with teenagers, anyone struggling with addiction, anyone who struggles with self-management hates. They always say they hate structure, but they thrive in it. So structure is one of the things that we push against, especially with teens. And I'm also going to add in there those of us or those who self-medicate, narcissists, and those in denial. Anything that sort of says, here's a line, it's time to sort of adhere to that. It's going to bring up all sorts of issues. So structure is best when it's collaborated between relationships. It means that, what's going to work for you, what's going to work for me. When you're developing a new relationship, when you're raising children, when you're running a house with a lot of people, when you're running a company, when you have a team to manage, sports team, business team, women's group, men's group, it helps to have structure. What's going to happen in what order? And then it's up to us as part of the collaborators to lead in that structure. It doesn't make sense if we're like, yeah, that doesn't apply to me. It just doesn't work. So in the home situation, structure is a framework for sleep and awake, for meals, for homework, for chore times, for down times, and for social times. It means that, one of the things that I remember as a mother with young children is this time is bath time, then there's bed. This time's bath, then there's bed. There would be those occasions where we had to sort of move off of that, whether we were traveling or it was a late night with friends over or something. But the second that was over, we go back to that structure so that the kids knew what to expect. So structure is not imposed. It's designed around what makes each of us the most present and feel supported. That's, I think, the most important thing. This isn't something that a parent goes, by the way, this is the structure you're going to live within. This is something that you co-collaborate in as a family, and you go, wow, you are really happy and present when we have this kind of structure going. It's also adaptable, with self-knowledge and self-awareness. So think of structure as like a board game. You open the board game and you look at all these squares and these paths and you're like, oh, so we have to follow something to get from point A to point B. So I'm going to leave you on structure and move over to rules. So rules are an accepted principle. I have to define it first. An accepted principle or instruction that states the way things are or should be done, tells you what's allowed and what's not allowed. You get a rule book on a game. You get rules in sports. You have rules in the house. So how do we do these? These are non-negotiable terms that you communicate to others. They can be involved with family. They can be involved in relationships, teams, groups, the house rules. They are the big things that you care about, and they have to be really crystal clear, right? They have to be so crystal clear that no one's like, oh man, don't go against mom's rules. They are rock solid expectations that I or anyone in relationship with me, especially with children, can enforce. Which is and so I'll give you an idea. No smoking in the house. No cell phones at the table. No shoes in the house. I've been in some houses where there's just simply no shoes. You can't drive if you've been drinking. If you make a mess, you clean it up. These are the big things that you just kind of go, hey, by the way, house rules. If you make a mess, you clean it up. I'm not cleaning that. So you get out of this pushing, hovering, hyper-managing, and you always make sure that the rules are known. And there shouldn't be 14 to 20 of them. There should be 3 or 4 or 5, maybe, that are core. If you feel like hurting yourself or you feel really, really desperately sad, you should come talk to someone. House rules. You're not doing this alone. So you can make up your house rules in whatever area you want. But you need to make sure that you teach them to everybody so that they're solid. This is, have fun with it. House rules are, no way. No shoes in the house. Get them off. Back at the door. And you can have fun with it. You need to teach what you mean and that it's okay to talk about it. So why don't you have shoes in the house? Well, because it makes it harder to vacuum. It scratches the hardwood floors. It brings in dirt from the outside. I'm not dealing with it unless you want to be the vacuum cleaner for the house. And they're like, okay, shoes are off. We can lead by being consistent and modeling these rules. Again, these rules have to be consistent in the whole group. Dad can't be on the cell phone at dinner if there's no cell phones at the dinner table or at the table ever. Mom can't wear her shoes and go, that's for you guys, not for me. Especially when it comes to drinking and driving. It helps if you've had 2-3 glasses of wine, you call and you say, hey, come pick me up. I'm not driving tonight. I'm going to leave my car and come back and get it. No shame. It's reaching out and saying, I had a good time at the party. I pushed it a little too far and now I need a ride home. That's how we teach house rules and rules within a family structure. You model, you reach out, you ask for help or assistance. You make it credible, consistent, and compassionate when you respond to them. So rules are going to be like the little rule book that comes in a game board that says you roll the dice, you move the dice, the amount on the dice. It's not something that's up for discussion. It just means that if everyone listens to this, if everyone follows this, then we have a way to collaborate and work together. If someone's breaking it, then there's inconsistency. And when there's inconsistency, anxiety goes up and oppositionality goes up. It's super simple. So boundaries. This is the one that I love the most. Boundaries is what we define we will or will not accept in another in words or actions. What I will not accept is this is like perimeter around me, my personal space, my area. So a boundary defined is a line that marks a limit to an area, like a boundary on a map, a boundary on a property line. It's a dividing line. It's about you, and it's about what you set. And the reason that it's about what you set is it also means it's what you hold and what you enforce. It has to be something that you can adhere to. Hey, you are not using that language around me. I am not comfortable with that tone of voice. no, I am not comfortable living in a house that has all this dirt all over it. As of today, we are now doing chores. Because it means that this is my comfort zone. This is what I enforce. Boundaries are helpful when dealing with negative elements like bullying, cruelty, abuse, harassment, manipulation. You know, that teenager that pushes, Mom, Mom, Mom. The boundary is, I'm not going to talk to you if you're going to continue to push. And you don't have to be mean, and you don't have to be snarky about it. You just have to say, come back when we have something to talk about. But you're not going to wear me down by pushing. So healthy boundaries create respect. They help people communicate effectively and work together. They make people less likely to fight or want to leave a relationship. We think when we impose boundaries on a relationship that it's going to make it more difficult. What we forget is, like structure and rules, boundaries make it easier to be in a relationship. So you identify what you need, you self-support, and you do self-care. You know these rock solid and you own them, because as soon as you establish a boundary, which is, I'm not going to listen to music at this decimal, then you have to enforce it. And it's going to be pushed on, because it's our natural curiosity from the time we're toddlers all the way through our adulthood to say, is that a real boundary? Or is she just being mean? Is she being snarky with me? Is it a real boundary? Oh, it's a real boundary. I need to honor that. And so they push and we hold. They push and we hold. Now, holding isn't where you go angry. I can't believe you're going to push on me. You have a problem. Holding is, stop. This is my boundary, and this is where I begin, and I'm saying no. Okay? So when they get curious, when they want to push, that's natural. Expect that. Know that you're going to have to support it. So you consistently hold the line and you don't yield. Now you can remove yourself, or you can simply remove the person who's pushing if they're young. Hey, we're done. You need to go do outside. You need to go to your room. You need to go find something else to do. And boundaries can also be, I am unwilling to have the TV on in the house during the day. It can also be a house rule. But if you're in the house and you're working and the TV's on, then this is where your boundary is. So it's something that reflects you. So you teach your children, you teach your coworkers, you teach your partner, you teach your community how to define their own space and their own needs and their own lines. Because it's one thing for us to know what ours are. It's another thing to teach someone, hey, what is your real boundary? When someone comes at you and talks to you mean at school, what do you do? Do you say, hey, please don't talk to me like that? And I know the kids will roll their eyes, but after a while, it's about teaching them how to enforce their own. And we do that by modeling. And we do that by making it natural from the time that we start a relationship, or we start a job, or we start a family. So we let them discover this on their own. And we push on them. I think our job is to push. Are you sure? Like, really? That's what you're going to do? Okay. That's awesome. So you push a little bit and you let them practice holding, because you can do it from a loving, compassionate way. So structure is the format. Rules are the guidelines. And boundaries are about how you're going to play and how you're going to allow people to treat you when you're playing. It's a super fun thing. And when you know these and when you advocate for these, then it means that you have more ownership in the world, and the world isn't coming at you, and you aren't worried, and you aren't afraid, and you aren't doubting yourself. So these things are really, really important to start today if you don't have them. If this is something you would like some assistance with, you want to talk about, you can give me a call. You can find me on JaniceDrydenCoaching.com. And have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy July. Full on summer. I'm going to get out there on my paddleboard. You take care. Bye-bye.